What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the new Big Screen Berkan podcast, BSBP. Get it going, get it on t-shirt. Needs to happen. If you know a guy, hit me up, because, that'd be pretty cool. I have Mark with me, my brother-in-law, and when Mark's on the pod, that means we're talking Star Wars. So,
yeah, excited to be here. Excited to dive into Star Wars stuff, especially with all the Kenobi stuff going on. New Star Wars stuff is always exciting to us, especially being lifelong Star Wars fans.
Oh, yeah.
And the childhood kind of being brought back with Amy and Christian, all being back. Yeah,
we just actually finished watching episode 5, so it's fresh on the mind. So we're ready to dive into it. But first, this is the first time any of you guys have seen or heard of Mark. Again, he is my brother-in-law. He's a okay guy, I guess.
Yeah, well, he took my sister from me, so I have to thank him for that. Don't have to worry about that anymore. So
yeah. Well, anyway, just so that you guys can get to know Mark a little bit, as he said, he's a lifelong Star Wars fan. Mark, do you have a ranking in mind? Do you have like a hierarchy on like what's peak Star Wars?
I think for me, peak Star Wars has got to be the Clone Wars series.
Yes,
so much backstory, so much like just in-depth Star Wars stuff comes from that. You get to see like a lot more of growing of Anakin. Of course, gives us Ahsoka, which is an unbelievable Star Wars character.
Yeah, one of the best arcs in any franchise, hands down, in my opinion.
I just love that series so much. Then, the other animated series, not the best. Rebels gives us some good stuff, though.
There's some good moments. It's a little bit hard to... This is kind of a controversial statement in recent, movie, comic talk. But Star Wars Rebels is very much a Disney Channel, a Disney XD show. So it has its moments where you're kind of cringing through. But it also, very deep in it, has some...
very important Star Wars
incredible
stuff.
Moments. I mean, Kenobi versus Maul. You have Ahsoka reuniting with Vader.
That's an intense one.
It is full of just little good Easter eggs that make watching all 4 seasons, I think, worth it.
Yeah, just getting through it, just powering through it. There's some really good stuff in there. And then my hot Star Wars take is I really love Solo. I think that's an awesome movie.
Wow, it's on the bottom of my list.
I love the backstory to Solo and kind of getting into the depths of the smuggler world because I really enjoy that side of Star Wars. But that's my hot take, and so.
Well, Kathleen Kennedy, I think I'm saying that name correctly. I think that's her name. The head of Lucasfilm actually talked about recently how she kind of regrets recasting Solo for the Solo project. And honestly, that wasn't ever a red flag for me. To me, the red flag was when you see the report that they had to send him to acting lessons.
Yeah, that one's tough.
That was a little bit rough. I was a little bit worried about that one. But yeah, so Clone Wars is your peak then.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so you're excited for Tales of the Jedi then.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
And I also love The Bad Batch, of course. It spins off of it. And I love kind of getting to follow that arc, especially with how they reintroduce certain things and just a more modern take on it.
Yeah, I definitely was blindsided by Hera. Her little arc in The Bad Batch. I did not see that coming, but it makes so much sense.
I don't think a lot of people saw it coming.
No,
and that's what made it so good.
It was good, but that's kind of the best part about The Bad Batch. It's hard to theorize about what could happen. It's just all there.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a lot of action, which people love, and so it kind of keeps you really involved in the story. But there's also a lot of emotions behind it, with the fact that Order 66 kind of going on.
Yeah,
stuff
you
that.
Literally start off with Kanan.
Yeah,
it's it is definitely wild. We do have a habit of starting off series now with Order 66. I mean, that's 2 that we started off with. So
I mean, gets the attention early though.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's why they do it.
Definitely causes some early emotional damage. Well, yeah, I can agree that Clone Wars is the top. Although I still personally might take Revenge of the Sith over it. But to me, if you watch them together, you have such a deep appreciation for it now. I mean, you can't watch... To me, the only way... Allison and I, my wife, your sister, we did this recently where we rewatched Revenge of the Sith right before Kenobi started. And I felt so wrong not... pausing it, going back to the last 3 episodes of season 7,
understanding what's going on,
and connecting all the dots. Because that's how I made Allison watch the final season for the first time. I integrated it. I found which moments to stop the last 3 episodes, and then we integrated Revenge of the Sith. So to me, it's like saying Infinity War and Endgame are 2 separate watches. For me, it's best when it's one watch.
Yeah, and I think if you take Clone Wars, it gives you so much more backstory to the characters of Revenge of the Sith, and that's probably why it's a little bit more over Revenge of the Sith for me, because I love Revenge of the Sith, but I think so much of it comes from the backstory that you get and like the characters and kind of watching Anakin grow up a little bit by training Ahsoka and just kind of like where are like that raw passion and that it gives you more backstory on like the raw power he has.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why, we see him, how Vader's so strong and stuff like that later in the series, and you kind of get more of the backstory, which I think is why it's so just elite compared to everything else.
And I always wondered if Ahsoka leaving the council, I mean, obviously she does come back for Revenge of the Sith, but I always wondered if that kind of started tipping him over.
Yeah. And you got to think about that because, like, just the way we see, like, in Kenobi, how Obi-Wan is so emotionally connected to the fact of what Vader's become. Anakin in the same way. Like, you truly understand how much his Padawan means to him. And, like, you truly understand how much, Anakin meant to Kenobi. And how much it is affecting him personally. And I think a lot of that has to deal with, Anakin maybe being tipped over to becoming Vader because they took, his away from him. And not only did they take it away from him, kind of like that whole arc and the emotion that's behind that and what it kind of turns him into and like the emotion he goes through there and how much of a tipping point that is for him.
Yeah, I mean, all that being said, Clone Wars is incredible. You're a fool if you decide not to watch because you think it's a kid's show.
It's the most elite Star Wars there is, in my opinion.
Listen, the first, 2 seasons, or I guess the first, traditional 2 seasons, a little
were
tough.
A little
it's
bit more
Cartoon
targeted.
Network.
They were targeted solely at children.
But then you start
they realized,
decapitating, troopers and...
They figured out the recipe to keep people coming back for more.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, I will never forget the scene in Season 7 with Maul going through that hallway. Star Wars has a thing with hallway scenes. Yeah. But Maul going through that hallway, just annihilating the clones, ripping limbs off.
Or the Geonosis scene when they're taking over their brains, like the mind control bugs, and how dark that was for Star Wars at the time.
Yeah.
And not only for Star Wars at the time, but the fact they were doing it through the cartoon show was just okay.
Yeah, it was great. I'm forever grateful that Dave Filoni realized that his show can be what it needs to be to tell
and kind of bridging.
Yeah, and he essentially Dave Filoni has done wonders for Star Wars. I mean, there's no questioning Dave Filoni is king.
Yeah.
But the way he's able to redeem the prequels as well. I mean, some... I think our generation grew up enjoying the prequels.
Yeah, loved them because they made them for us. And I think you even said that recently at the Star Wars Expo. He was like, we made Revenge of the Sith and the prequels for the kids.
Yeah.
And he talked about how cool it was now that they're getting that reception and the love. I don't know if you've seen the clip, but them being introduced... Yeah. And they couldn't get the crowd to quiet down.
Yeah.
Because just how much love there is for those two. And he said, the critics hated it. Hated Revenge of the Sith, hated the prequels, but the kids loved it. And it's for them to be able to feel that love now from, our age, because we're grown up and we're able to actually express it to them, especially with them coming back. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this on episode 1 of the pod. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I don't know why you're waiting so long. My one of my all-time favorite movie experiences was with my dad going to see Revenge of the Sith in the theater. It was the first movie that I went back a second time because I could not wait for it to come back to DVD. I had to. We were on vacation in Florida, and I looked at my dad and I said, "Dad, I don't care.
Yeah, we're going.
Just dropping everything. We need to go see this movie again. I have the need." And it's just special that Clone Wars has made it to where everyone can appreciate the prequels at that level instead of just us who was initially
and I think a lot of the older even my dad, I told him, I was like, hey, you need to watch Clone Wars. He was like, isn't that a kid's show? And I was like, no, it's so much more than a kid's show. It kind of explains a lot more in depth about the Force than I think any other Star Wars gives us. We get a lot of episodes of Yoda kind of going through Force journeys and training more people on Force journeys. Especially we get that one arc where he's communicating with Qui-Gon and kind of understanding how that side of the Force works, which I was kind of hoping to see more of in Kenobi. We haven't seen it so far.
Yeah, not yet. Left. Still an episode yet.
So maybe we get that. We don't know yet. We're gonna have to see. But I think a lot of that just gives backstory, and I think as older Star Wars fans are accepting that this is kind of, especially with like streaming services, and we're getting more like Kenobi.
Yeah.
We're getting more series, and I think they're understanding that like the series are important to Star Wars, and they kind of explain a lot of like the in between gaps that you can't explain in the 3-hour lots.
Exactly.
You know, because you can't go as in depth with them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you know what? Allison, by the way, was the exact same way. She didn't want to watch Clone Wars. It took a lot of convincing on my part, but I finally got her. I got her in the chair. We watch it, and now Ahsoka's one of our all-time favorite characters.
Ahsoka's a great character, and I will stand by that. I think she's one of the best Star Wars characters there is.
Hands down.
She's lovable, sassy, funny, and
good development.
Great development. Started off as like this kid that, you know, no one really understood.
From an atrocious Clone Wars movie.
From the atrocious Clone
Wars. It's
amazing
movie. That we start. That's how we started this like Clone Wars era.
Yeah,
and what it is now.
They really dove in with it.
It truly is a comeback.
They were like, here is this movie, and I was like.
And it wasn't even like the start of the series. It's technically the third thing you watch.
Yeah, it's a really random part in the series. And doesn't make sense.
It is wild. It was wild. Well, okay, so now we kind of get to know you, where you come from in Star Wars, which is truly the right way. Clone Wars being peak. If I gave you a blank slate, you know, or I guess a table, and it had every single lightsaber, whose are you grabbing? I know, I just bombshelled you. It's a tough one, I know. I feel like for me, I have to go with the cliche, and I'll always have to pick up Anakin's. It's one I always wanted to have. I just can't get it when it's labeled Rey. Rey's lightsaber. I cannot do that. I cannot, in good conscience, do that. But yeah, it's a tough one. For sure, look, I might lean towards Cal Kestis's as well.
Cal's is nice. It's Cal's is a nice blade.
I do like it.
I like that it's so custom. I'll go back to the Clone Wars though. In that one episode where they get to make their lightsabers with all the younglings, they make that wooden lightsaber where it's like all wood, like from the Kashyyyk trees, and I think that, or, I mean, my other choice would be non-canon, so I don't want to get into the canon non-canon.
Force Unleashed.
It'd be a Force Unleashed lightsaber, but we won't get into that today because we're gonna start controversy on the episode. But that would be another lightsaber, and it's actually one I have custom made that hangs at my office. But we won't get into that because they ripped that away from us real quickly.
Yeah. Well,
but that, or you can go with Obi-Wan's. That's a nice one.
Obi-Wan's is
just classic. One. It's a unique look, which is what I like about it. It's unique, but it's not like too flashy. So.
Yeah, it's definitely feels like it'd be lighter too.
It feels like it would fit in the hand nice, and you could rotate it correctly as you need to, go for different moves and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm dying to get my hands on a NeoPixel lightsaber. Oh, yeah, I'm dying because we have our Galaxy Edge lightsabers.
They're heavy though.
They're heavy.
And I feel like fragile. I'm gonna break it every time I swing it.
Mine's like I can't even reattach it. I changed my kyber crystal, and now it won't reattach. Yeah. So it's just it's a little disappointing. And it's crazy because NeoPixel lightsabers are cheaper and they're better. And
they're durable. Like you can really smack someone with those if you wanted to. Like you could really get into a real lightsaber fight and just hit someone with it, like a full baseball swing. And I think it would stand. Maybe.
Yeah, it'll live to see another day. One day we'll try it.
One day we'll try it. It should be interesting.
It should. I think I'd win, but. Hey, you said no controversy, but I think I had to put a little bit in there.
That's so. Yeah, it's your podcast, so
it's my podcast, so I can win. As soon as I shut everything down,
we're gonna have a discussion.
We're gonna talk about it. All right, well, let's talk about Kenobi.
Yes, let's get into it.
You have any?
Yeah, I'll go. For me, I love the series. I love, and a lot of it probably has to do with nostalgia. Just seeing him up there on the screen. This recent episode, we got a little bit more of the Anakin Obi-Wan interaction, which I really enjoyed.
Episode 5 was
really needed that in there because you can't tease him for that long, and him being in a short glimmer. And was it episode?
It was episode 3. It was episode 3. You saw him from 0.2 seconds in the distance,
from 500 yards away.
Yeah.
So I think it was good that they added him more in still another episode, so we might see a little bit more of him. And I think Hayden does, for as much hate as he took, to come back to the role, and love the role the way he does, I think is super awesome. But for me, Kenobi, the one thing it's missing, and I've talked to you about it, I just feel like it lacks the emotional aspect. I really feel like there's been a few instances, like when he first comes face to face with Vader, I feel like Kenobi, like, you know, we get that scene of him like kind of losing his breath as Kenobi's walking up the street, which is really cool. But then they come face to face in the mine, and it's just like they just kind of stare at each other, and it's like I understand like that's a huge shock, but like I feel like there's got to be a little bit more emotion to that.
Yeah, I'm curious if Kenobi ever went through the stages of grief.
Yeah, that'd be something.
And I'm curious, for me, I wonder what it would have been like if seeing Vader kind of, because he's already disconnected from what he knows as a Jedi Master. He's already disconnected. I wonder if he would have immediately went to rage. Yeah. And that would have been the first time we saw Kenobi.
Like, truly mad.
I'm curious if that's an area they could have explored. Because I feel like, to me, it's a very natural response to be angry. You know, because we never seen him, like, go through that. I mean, I'm sure, yes, he's heartbroken. He doesn't want to hurt Anakin, but at some point, he was his brother. You know, he loved him. There's got to be some anger there.
There's got to be, and I think, like, a lot of that is shown from the Vader side, obviously. Like, we get, in Kenobi, we get, like, his unraw Force strength, which is, like, I think this is the first time that you ever really see, like, in chronological order, like, you ever really see Vader's, like, true strength.
Yeah, this is the first time, because they couldn't show it.
Yeah, they couldn't show it before, and so I think, like, this is some raw Force power, which has always been talked about how much he's had. And I think, like, it's really cool to see how strong Vader is, because, like, everyone knows that he's the strongest Force wielder that's ever lived, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that shot
of him
taking the ship down, and we saw it in Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
And we saw a glimpse of it in Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Well, except she didn't bring it all the way down. No. It just exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, the Force lightning kind of... Yeah. But, you know, this was cool. This was controlled.
Magical, yeah.
Yeah. This was controlled. Like,
yeah, like he just straight up just caught it and just brought it back down.
Yeah, it was crazy. I wouldn't have been surprised if he saw the second ship leaving just with the other hand.
Yeah.
Took that one down, too, because I feel like he would have been quick enough.
Yeah, but then it begs the question is, like, something that we don't know a lot about is, like, how much does, like, something of that magnitude to control with the Force, how much does that drain you?
Yeah.
How much, like Force energy does that seep from your body to, like, you know, control it and just, like, bring it back down? Like, do you have the ability to keep going? Like, it's something that's never really been explained and kind of, you know, talked about in the Star Wars world is, like, you know, we see him, like, catching... you know, Leia when she's falling, like how much that takes out of him because he's out of practice and he doesn't exercise it. I assume it's kind of like a muscle from like what we've seen in Star Wars through all the different years of like, you know, like you have to train your ability to use Force and it zaps you a little bit because every Jedi's exhausted after like all the big Force battles. And so begs the question is like Vader's raw Force power, how much does that take from you to do something like that?
But also at the same time, this is year 10 of 10 straight years. I'm sure there's maybe a period with his new...
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but this is 10 straight years of using his power freely.
Yeah, and just
no rules,
letting
just
it all
pure,
go.
like, backed with hatred and hate and pain and heartbreak. And so it just begs that question of, like you're saying, how much would he have had left after that moment?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting aspect. And I do love that you see him with Reva just toying with her.
Yeah, just completely. Like, the fact that he doesn't even feel a need to pull a saber out and defend himself.
Not even his own saber.
Like, literally,
She's not worth it.
He lets her kill herself, basically. Like, with what she does. I mean, like, she drains him and just, like, catches her saber with the Force and just, like, throws her aside. And,
it was almost like... It was like, there's moments in that where it felt like the Karate Kid.
Yeah, where he was just
watching
like dodging.
A karate, like,
he's just kind of letting
sparring.
it happen.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And just like using her own momentum against her, and then like eventually just like breaking her saber in half, and then the fact
tossing
that he tosses it back to her.
Oh my god, that's
the
like
disrespect.
You're a baseball guy. That has to be the equivalent of pointing your bat where you're gonna hit the ball, right?
Well,
I mean, that's crazy.
It's like just the disrespect to be like, yeah, here you go, kid.
Yeah, just take it. Just do your best.
It's like.
And the fact that he, like, finishes that off, calling her a youngling.
Yeah. And it's just, like, it's kind of just, like, rubbing salt in the wound there. Because she's just, like, she's so exhausted, you know, like, and I think, like, a lot of people's perspective probably really changed on her during that conversation with Kenobi through the door.
Yeah, I think it at least gives you something to
a little bit more
attach yourself to.
Attached to her, because like for a long time you're like, okay, well for me, like I naturally assumed, we talked about it after the first episode, I was like, I bet she's a youngling.
Yeah,
like you just kind of get that feeling with kind of like how she talks, where she's like, you don't know what I've been through and like all this stuff, how hard I've worked to get back here.
And Fallen Order kind of gives you that
a
sense
little bit,
that Inquisitors. I mean, we know that Inquisitors were
former
Jedi
who turned, but you don't truly appreciate like her as a character. Like I was like, man, there's really nothing that they've given us to latch onto here to really like feel her pain or really get behind her. But I felt that conversation is finally like that turning point where it's like, okay, this is a character you can get behind. This is a character that you can feel the pain and feel the raw emotion of what she's doing, and it kind of gives you a better understanding. And then it also, shifts aside to you feel the more emotional side of Kenobi for the first time in the series, really.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get the glimpses when she first says Anakin, is alive. She tells him, which also piques your interest of like.
Yeah, he had no idea.
How does she know who Anakin is?
Yeah.
Kenobi had no idea who Vader was at the time. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like, okay, how does she know who Anakin is? And like, it also begs the question is like, who does Kenobi think Vader is all this time?
Well, I think he does actually know that Anakin is Vader because he sees the security footage. But I don't think, because he's been on Tatooine, he's not involved. Vader's not going back to that planet.
No.
I think he just thought he did it. He finished him off. So you're seeing the like, oh my gosh, 10 years have passed. I failed.
Yeah, and it's like the reason the galaxy kind of is the way that it is.
Yeah.
Kind of on my shoulders, or at least that's how he takes it. But it was a cool emotional scene that I think we got to. It was the first introduction to emotion, which I think they needed a lot more in the series. So I'm hoping episode 6.
Yeah, it just builds off it. I hope it's longer. I hope it's at least an hour. I think there's rumors that it is because supposedly it's not like official yet, but some theaters are starting to advertise it.
Yeah.
Supposedly Disney Plus is going to take the Kenobi series and have it play in theaters like an event. And some of the theaters have the running time to be around 5 hours, 5 hour 20 minutes. So if it's at least 5 hours, that means this next episode is going to be well over an hour.
Yeah. That is a long time to sit there.
Oh, people do it. I mean, they do it for like 26 hours for like Avenger movies. So.
Well, you couldn't pay me to do that, but yeah. I mean,
you wouldn't do it?
I'm not sitting in a movie theater for 26 hours.
Yeah, it is a lot.
That's an alarming amount of time to be sitting in a chair.
I've yet to do it, and it's just, I don't know if I could do it.
I think one of the things I want to see to get off the Star Wars track, but I want to see The Room in theaters just once.
Just once?
I just want to be able to
Do you want the Disaster Artist to be played after it so you can fully appreciate that world? Do you want a double feature?
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah?
But I want to go where, like Tommy goes to he goes to midnight premieres of it, and like you get to do all the things with him, like throw the straws, like quote the movie during the movie. I'd love to go to one of those and just kind of absorb all that it is, because I think that's something I could sit 26 hours to do that. Yeah. That's something I could do.
I got a couple requests on TikTok once people figured out that I was an actor. I got a couple requests to reenact from Disaster Artist Tommy's what's my line moment.
Oh, the entire you're tearing me apart, at least. No,
this is like I did not hit her. This is bullshit. Yeah.
That is a great scene. And I think it's truly one of the greatest cinema scenes of all time. Like, if you really break it down, the pure acting skill that we get from that scene is just like, you could teach like months worth of classes off of it.
Yeah, I think that scene makes me uncomfortable because I think that's my worst nightmare as an actor, to have the entire crew know my line.
Know your line because you've messed it up so many times that they're just sitting there quoting it at you. Yeah. But, let's talk about the genius that is giving the water bottle.
Oh, yeah?
And it's just, there's something about it.
Yeah, there's something about it. Well, yeah, definitely going back to Kenobi, do you think they've missed their I mean, I feel like it's a little bit better now that it's not officially confirmed, but they're talking about another season.
Revival, yeah.
Do you think
revival of it.
That makes it better that we really, I mean, you have the first episode, which is no matter what, it always is going to be what it is. Yeah. You have episode 3 and you have episode 5. And then episode 2 and 4, so far it's been every other episode, Leia kidnapped, one episode, recovered. Yeah. Do you think those 2 were a waste of time? Because personally, I don't think episode 2 was a waste of time, because I think it was necessary, and I think I'm one of the few who understands you're not going to follow up episode 3. I mean, yes, ideally you'd want maybe to follow up episode 3 with an episode 5, right? That's a worthy, but at some point you also have to think Kenobi has to gain his confidence back somehow.
Yeah, and I think an important part about it is, I think maybe what I would have done is, I don't necessarily think it's a waste of time what they did. I think they should have done a little bit more of like him gaining confidence, a little more like maybe some of him training. Or what I really liked about the newest episode is the flashbacks. How much of flashbacks we actually got. Because, like, in the past episodes, there was a few here and there, but they were, like, clips that were just, didn't really, like...
It didn't really
build.
Cultivate anything.
Yeah,
it just
I felt like it didn't really build the
there.
episode. I felt like it was just like, oh, here's a flashback to remind you guys. But I felt like the flashbacks in today's episode, like the 5th one, like, really built... like in the episode, like, because he's talking about like Anakin's strategy, and then you get that flashback that talks about how overeager Anakin is, which everyone knows, and like how you can use that against him, and like that's exactly what he did. And so I thought that was a really cool flashback. And of course, being a Revenge of the Sith fan and being a Clone Wars fan, I think like all the flashbacks to that era of Anakin and Obi-Wan is always going to be something that piques my interest.
I don't think I'll ever get tired of Clone Wars era.
Yeah, and I don't think you can. And I know there's a lot of talks of people begging for the live action Clone Wars series, which I would not say no to.
I would not say no to it. I don't know if it's needed.
Oh,
but
it's not needed.
I don't think I could say no to
it.
If you give me an Anakin prequel that's set in the Clone Wars, the entire season's just basically what a traditional Clone Wars arc is, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I think it would be something that would be really cool would be like more of like kid Anakin becoming a Padawan and like him kind of going through
that'd be interesting.
Like the tradition of the traditional Padawan steps, which like we know like obviously he's not a traditional Padawan because he kind of got just as soon as Kenobi became his master and like started training him, so he wasn't in the academy really. Right. But I think it'd be interesting to watch him train along other Padawans, especially with how the raw power he had.
To see the difference
between the Padawan.
That means no more Hayden though.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice Hayden for it.
I don't know. It'd be a cool series.
Cool.
You could do flash forwards.
You can do flash forwards.
You can do future shots.
He could cameo somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I do think that'd be a cool series. And honestly, I think also in the upcoming Ahsoka show, I think because he's coming back for that, and again, you can have him in the suit, but reality is there's 3 people in that suit, so really a quarter of the time is actually him in the suit. There's got to be a greater purpose to put that man through all this.
Well, and I think a lot of it is like, for our, age's sake, like our generation's sake, I think like a lot of it is like them putting him in the suit for us. Like,
I think that was like, knowing he's in the suit.
I'm just like, when I see him, I'm like, oh, that's Hayden.
That's Hayden there.
That's Hayden there. Yeah. And he's doing his thing. He's
doing
being
his
a man.
thing. It's crazy that we got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, Hayden and Ewan all together in 7 months. We got all that.
They really were like, here's your childhood. Here's everything you've always longed for and cried for. And they just kind of tossed it.
Just take it. You're a child again. You're 7 years old again.
I just soaked it all in. I'm always going to be Toby's the best Spider-Man. I'm always going to be that way. I think, and that's just my opinion. I think that a lot of that may have to do with nostalgia.
There's nothing wrong with nostalgia being a reason you enjoy something.
I think also, in my opinion, he's got that perfect mix of nerdiness, but when he turns into Spider-Man, he's also kind of got that enough of like swagger of Spider-Man, from my opinion.
Yeah. I still always lean into Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man a little bit more just because I think he's quicker in his like wit and I think body type.
Yeah, that's the one thing. But I think the third Spider-Man,
Tom Holland.
No, the original Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man
Episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's a little buffer.
Revenge of Spider-Man.
Revenge of Spider-Man. He's a little buffer in that one.
Yeah.
And he's kind of... Like, he low-key yoked. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, he's kind of shredded in that one. No one knows, like, no one talks about that enough. That the fact that, like, for the third Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire was like, all right, I got to get some gains because I'm a little tubby out here, and he came back yoked. And then, yeah, and of course there's Tom Holland, who I think he's a little bit too much of a, he just, like, I don't know, he's not nerdy enough on one side, and I just don't think he's not, like, he's no Andrew Garfield.
He's
like,
no Andrew
he's
Garfield.
No Andrew Garfield.
We had they made a mistake. They put Andrew Garfield next to Tom Holland.
Yeah.
But I do think Tom is doing a good job.
No, he's doing a great job.
And I do think he is, benefiting off the fact that the team making those movies significantly better.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, Spider-Man will always be iconic. That first trilogy is always iconic. And Hayden dealt with this with the prequels, too.
It's like...
Writing is a little cheesy. I mean, these blockbuster movies were cheesy.
And again, that has to go back to the time, like, when we were kids, what they were writing for. They were
writing
at us.
It was made for us to laugh.
There's been a huge shift in the industry recently, at least I felt like, where they're targeting more adults with these movies who have the money to come spend. Because I don't think, with all the streaming and all the stuff going on, kids can stay at home more to get, like, those kind of movies.
Yeah.
And I think the industry's realizing that they should do that, where they should put out the streaming movies for the kids, where they can stay at home with the family, and the family doesn't have to go anywhere. And then they're starting to target more movies towards, like, our age and upper adults, because they think, which is rightly so, like, that's where they should target it. So I think a lot of people just think about the fact that all those movies are cheesy, but, like, that was a family thing to do back then.
Right.
That was to go see the movies was, like, a big family outing, which is not anymore necessarily nowadays. So I think that's a big thing that people just don't think about. And so,
do you think, because I truly believe this, I think we're in this crazy content era, and I think our age, like 22, 20, or 21, 22, 23, 24, we're truly, and maybe like upper 20s too, but the 20s right now, we're truly in a time where all the things that are being brought back up are from our childhood.
Yeah.
It's hitting us the most, and now they're being made again for us to appreciate.
Yeah, and I think, like, a lot of people probably are like, oh, they're remaking it for kids. No, they're not. They're smart. They're smart
making
enough.
it for
They're
us.
making it for us, because, you put Tobey Maguire up on a movie, I'm there. It just really doesn't matter what it is.
Matter.
I'll show up. I'll show up and support that man like the true king he is.
Yeah, well, you know what? He is returning outside of Spider-Man for a new movie called Babylon.
I think it's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, it will always hurt me. I don't know if you realize this, but do you remember you went to Baylor University? Baylor sororities, fraternities have this crazy, it really is spectacular event called Sing. And your last Sing before, COVID, I came to see it. Do you realize that was the audition I came back from?
I did not. That's crazy.
It breaks my heart that I was so close to not only
Toby,
Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, but to Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire takes the cake there.
I was like, are you kidding me? But yeah, that's why Alice and I went to Austin, and on the way there, I was given this 10-page script that I can only access on my phone. It was on a program to where as soon as you accessed it on somewhere, that was it. So if I pulled it up on like my work computer, which was very possible, I would have been screwed. And it was just crazy. It was 10 pages. I get to the audition. They're like, we gave you the wrong 10 pages.
Nice.
And so I had to have a whole different 10 pages. Love that. I mean, it was wild. Obviously, it didn't happen. I'm not in Babylon, but what could have been.
So close to Toby.
I know. It's going to haunt me.
And you could have brought him on the podcast to talk about Spider-Man.
We could have been on the podcast. We could have just been talking about Spider-Man all day.
To Tobey Maguire.
Instead, I have you.
Happens.
It happens to the best of us. But yeah. So anyway, next week, finale of Kenobi.
Pumped.
For now, I'm pumped. Do you have any, before we close this episode out, do you have any thoughts of what you think might happen? Personally, I think I was wrong about Palpatine from the beginning.
Yeah, you shot and missed. Pretty hard.
But if I shot and I made it,
it would have been impressive.
This podcast would be going nuts right now.
Yeah, but
it didn't happen.
But it's not.
It's not happening. So my new theory is, how in Empire Strikes Back, or not Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi,
there you go.
Luke is talking with Leia, and he's telling her, like, he's asking her what she remembers of their mom, and she remembers flashes of her being happy, but also sad. And it's been talked about for years. Everyone was like, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
Padme died seconds after they were born. My theory is, I wonder, with how close Leia has been to all of this, I'm wondering if, because we know that they've been using these series to fix gaps, you know? I'm wondering if maybe Leia will get a glimpse of Vader and she'll try to look into his mind, kind of like she did with her cousin, kind of like she did with Kenobi, and how she was able to kind of keep Reva out. I'm wondering if she might, like for a brief moment, glimpse into Vader's mind and see the pain that he carries with her. Because I'm sure he thinks about Padme all the time.
I would think about Padme every day.
Can't blame you. I can't blame you.
I do think about Padme every day. So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but that's my theory that I'm kind of holding on. I thought for a second it might happen in this episode when Vader's like storming in, but we'll see. Theory.
I honestly have been trying to take this series like one episode at a time, not trying to think too much about it because I'm trying to soak it in for what it is. Mm-hmm. And I typically leave the theorizing to you. Because
that's true. You didn't even watch the like trailers for the show.
I blocked it all out. Just waited for it.
Yeah,
soak it all in.
I wish I could do that, but my TikTok comments would not allow it. It would not happen.
This is what you've built yourself up to be. Is the guy that makes really bold predictions.
Bold predictions, always talking. And unfortunately, when I'm wrong, I pay the price for being wrong. So
if you guys make you feel any better, he's typically not only wrong about theorizes for movies. In our family, he's typically wrong on almost every topic that he ever talks about. In general. It's just wrong.
I have my moments, you know. I have my moments. I'm just really what I'm doing is I'm just giving you guys a false impression, and then one day I'm just gonna blow everyone's mind. You'll see. It's coming.
Someone write that down and keep track of that because that's what he's saying now. He's been saying that for years in the family.
I'm on like what, year 4, year 5?
Somewhere around there.
It's coming. You guys wait. Yeah. So you don't have any closing theories or anything? Thoughts?
No, because I don't want to be ostracized like you. So I'm just gonna let it be.
Gotcha. You don't want your first.
I don't want to throw takes out there yet.
I get you.
I already threw the hot take by saying I liked Solo.
Yeah, that's true. That was a big.
That was pretty.
That was a big reach. I don't know if I could be proud of you for that one.
I think it really gives us true Sabacc in there. I feel like we really get Sabacc out of that.
That is true, and I have to be fair for the record. Mark and I have played one like full. There's no full rounds. We've had like a best of like 7.
Yeah,
of Sabacc. I won. And by one game, it wasn't like a blowout by any means necessary. But yes, he did win, and I will get my revenge. But like you mentioned, I've been saying this for like 5 years now. So
you always said that. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, that's all we have for our podcast. Maybe we'll come back after Kenobi's done. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it as a whole. Fallen Order.
The new game's coming out. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about.
We're gonna have some stuff to talk about when that comes. Oh, stream. You know what? I think I'd be down to stream. You know, if you guys want to see us stream it, let us know. Maybe we'll dive into some Lego Star Wars action too.
That's a long game though.
That is, yeah. We want 100%. We'll just try to see how quickly we can get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a lot of cool Star Wars stuff to talk about and keep in mind. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna die with every Tales of Jedi episode. That's coming this fall. We're not waiting too long for that. That's coming
it's right around the corner.
That's like 3 months maybe.
Pretty exciting.
But yeah, so that's our episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 3. Episode 4 will be coming soon. I'll be at the Dallas Fan Expo in a couple days. And, you know, it's not like 100%, but Kim Possible herself will be there, and I'll be sitting down to talk with her. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe, download, follow on TikTok at Big Screen Bearcon, Twitter at Big Screen Bearcon, Instagram at Real Big Screen Bearcon, because someone took my name.
That's tough.
So I still can't use it.
That's brutal.
I'm like, why? But yeah, thank you guys again. And if you want Mark to get a TikTok, because he doesn't have one,
I don't.
let us know. Let's see I'm curious what the number of demands would be for you to cave. So, we'll see.
I don't know the number. I feel like if they throw some out, I'll entertain the idea.
You'll entertain the idea. I feel like that'd be a dub. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.